Good day, everyone. This is Rami Yahia reporting for Reason to Resist on January the 24th, 2026. I'm currently with Momodou Taal, who was recently detained under Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act in the UK. Momodou, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's been quite a difficult past 24 hours or so, and we're excited to hear more about your story.
Thank you so much, Rami. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
So we've been chatting over the past few weeks. I wanted to discuss with you about the evolving events happening in West Africa. But it seems like while we were in touch, you were detained by the UK police. I believe you were flying from, was it from Cairo? Where were you flying from?
From Cairo.
So you were flying from Cairo to London. And I believe in one of your posts, you mentioned that a couple of police officers were waiting for you at the exit of the terminal, well, basically at the exit of the airplane.
Yeah.
They immediately detained you. Can you tell us more about what exactly happened on that moment?
Absolutely. And thank you once again for having me. So yeah, as I get off the plane, I go, the tunnel that you have when you go through. Mm-hmm. Then literally after walking for about 2 minutes, there were 3 officers waiting. And immediately they called me by name, and they said they asked for my passport, and then immediately they said that, oh, you seem to travel a lot, and I was like, okay. and then they said, well, we are detaining you under Schedule 7 of the 2000 Terrorism Act, and then they proceed to read me like, you do not have the right to remain silent, for example. So then we head over to the interrogation room. And then the first thing they do is take my biometrics. So they take a DNA swab. I take pictures of me, and then they DNA swab pictures and fingerprints and palm prints. And then the interrogation begins. There's so many things, and I hope through your questioning we can get to some of the more specifics. But overall, the general theme was very personal history. It wasn't about Palestine. I think they asked me one question about Palestine or 2. One being, do I think that October the 7th was an inside job by Israel? Right? That was a question that they asked me. And I said, no, I think Hamas did it. And then they, proceed to say things like, oh, what color kufiya do you wear? Right? But besides that, it was very much like, oh, when did you start practicing Islam? Is your mother devout Muslim? Which people do you listen to? How do you fund yourself? It's very personal. Then after 6 hours, they took my device at the beginning and told me they're going to keep my devices for even longer, which I don't have any of them right now.
I mean, you're kind of hinting that the questioning had some Islamophobic tropes.
Absolutely.
What does your parents have anything to do with your supposed risk of committing an immediate terrorist act?
Exactly.
So just to maybe take a little step back, I know you through your academic research as well as through mutual friends. You post quite interesting articles or commentary on X. What exactly do you think is their basis or their suspicion? I mean, you're an academic, a very knowledgeable person. What do you think triggered their interest in you?
It's hard to say. I have some suspicion, but again, the timing is suspect because this is the 4th time since I've been back to the UK since my US departure, and this is the only time I've had Schedule 7. So I think immediately what comes to mind is this week or last week, a UN Special Rapporteur wrote to Cornell and said that mine, amongst some other students, human rights have been violated. So is there kind of a UK-US sharing of intelligence? I don't know. Again, this is me speculating, or at least trying to have some kind of an informed guess, right? Likewise as well, is it that they just waited to see me coming in and out, and then now, and when I become complacent or think everything is sweet, they try and get me now? But again, the questioning was very one question they asked, and I posted about it. Oh, have you read Karl Marx? and I said, yeah, and again, this is something I've noticed even through when I was negotiating with Cornell during the encampment, etc. People in positions of power who have the ability to mete out sanctions and punitive measures and restrict your freedom seriously, like be that Cornell administrators or be that the police in this example, are extremely stupid. Because no, I mean, we're dealing with idiots, right? And it's just a shame that they're empowered to do so much. Because, for example, she asked me, "Oh yeah, you read Karl Marx?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Is that chaos theory?" And I said, "Huh? What's?" I was like, I didn't say this, but I might have thinking, maybe do you mean crisis theory? Maybe but I guess it's a part of the game in many ways. And I mean, they ask a bit about my research. What do you research? Overall, upon reflection, if I was to kind of conclude or kind of think deeply about what I believe was the reason, I think it's a fishing expedition. I think they want to, and I think more than anything, they wanted my devices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, are you a UK citizen?
I am.
Or a UK citizen? This is home. You're in some way returning home,
Exactly.
and getting intimidated by, I mean, in some way, Keir Starmer's henchmen.
Yep. Yep.
The pseudo left, right? The Tony Blair imperialist left.
Yep.
And I believe you published for Vox Ummah, right? A leftist progressive Muslim media outlet.
Yep.
And I believe that also around this time, maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I believe the account got shut down.
Yep. There's that as well. So Vox Ummah, I published, and I'm also one of the co-founders of Vox Ummah as well, right? So it is, again, our account was either mass reported recently, or I think something to do with like resistance related posts, but it was taken down, right? Again, it just seemed like there seems to be a series of events. Again, I cannot confirm with 100% certainty that they're connected, but the timing just seems suspect.
Right, that your account gets blocked on Vox Ummah. And also, I mean, I just came back from a cybersecurity and surveillance conference in Paris, where these tools kind of, I mean, they basically promote the fact that they could draw maps from social media to individuals to like passport information. It's hard not to connect those dots together when we analyze what's been going on in your specific situation. You've briefly mentioned that you were part of the Cornell encampment.
Yeah.
That was, I believe, a couple of months ago. You were deported from the United States.
Yeah. I mean, they say the wording is self-deportation, but no,
Yes.
I had to flee the United States.
You didn't really have a choice, right? Can you tell us more about this specific situation? I mean, it seems absurd the amount of persecution you're going through.
I know. It's quite surreal, if I'm being honest. It doesn't feel real at times when people ask me about. I'm like, oh yeah, just last year I was fleeing from ICE and the FBI, but here we are. So it doesn't seem as real, but you know, alhamdulillah fi kulli hal, you know. But I think, I mean, again, where to begin that story? Long story short, Trump vowed to find, capture, and deport international students, right, who are pro-Palestinian. We saw what happened to Mahmoud Khalil, Rumeysa, Suri, etc. And my lawyers quite rightly identified me being a potential target, right, given my kind of me being so vocal and outspoken. And then, so we were weighing up my options, and then it was decided amongst my legal team in consultation that one of the best ways to keep me safe, or potential ways to keep me safe, and also at least fight back, because what I didn't want to become is a sitting duck. I didn't want to be just walking to class one day, walking through New York City one day, and ICE agents are picking me up, and next minute I'm being kidnapped and taken to Louisiana.
As they're doing right now in Minneapolis.
As they're doing, exactly. So I didn't want that to happen. So I thought, and it's in my nature to fight, right? So I was like, okay, fine. So I sued Trump in a federal court, and we were seeking a national injunction that would protect me and every single international student in the country. Obviously, under normal circumstances, and I guess what does normality even mean nowadays in the United States, right? But under like regular circumstances, or what would have been expected, is you go to court, you either win or lose, there's an appeal, go to the Ninth Circuit, win or lose, and then you go to Supreme Court. That was what I was anticipating. Naturally, we're living in a time where, again, not to say, I mean, everyone knows my thoughts on the US, right? They're not a bastion of democracy, freedom of speech, contrary to what they say and declare themselves to be and self-define. However, the flagrant disregard of judiciary so openly by Trump is something that I haven't seen so much in my lifetime anyway. So I sued Trump, and then immediately after, I was informed that the FBI and ICE are looking for me. Then a few days after that, my lawyers received an email that they must surrender me to ICE custody. A few days after that, I received an email from the Department of Homeland Security that my visa was revoked. And this is all before I've seen a judge. It's all before I had my court. And then they had an ICE agent sign an affidavit saying that it's not retaliation against him filing a lawsuit. Rather, we had intended to revoke his visa and capture him and deport him 1 day before I filed my lawsuit, coincidentally. And they cited the reasons being for a protest that I attended in September. So question becomes, on a random Friday afternoon, all the government agencies wake up and say, hey, that Momodou guy went to a protest in September. Now in March, let's find him. And nothing to do with the fact that I sued the president. Give me 1 second.
Of course.
Carry on. Sorry.
And then, due to the self-deportation, but in reality was, a deportation from the state over here, you went to the UK. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I drove up through upstate, came to Canada, Toronto, then I went to Cuba, and then I went to the UK.
Of course. Cuba is the safe haven for the revolution.
It was that, man. It really was that experience for me, because I think being like 2.5 weeks of effectively and essentially being in hiding. It was Ramadan, I was fasting, it was like hell. I was in a flat quite graciously given to me by my friend, but it's a studio apartment with no windows. Like, it was hell. Like, I was like, I think I often half jokingly say, it was at that moment I realized I can't go to jail, because I was going through it, right? But basically, when I arrived into Cuba, I was greeted by a man called Dennis, who is an Afro-Cuban who fought in the Angola liberation struggle under Castro. And the first thing he says to me, and I also remember the words, but more importantly, I remember how I felt, because it's such an intense 2.5 weeks. It was hell. And the first thing he said to me was, he heard about my case and he said that you're safe here in Cuba. I just remember like all my anxieties and worries just like melting away at that moment.
Mm-hmm. And it's absurd because the West frames Cuba as a place that restricts freedom of speech. There's no freedom, there's no liberty. And in contrast, America is the land of the free. Yet in this case, you see yourself in some way as a political refugee in Cuba fleeing persecution.
Yep.
It just shatters the image of America and this.
We know like these things are conditional, right? And I think people of color, my experience and Schedule 7, even citizenship is conditional, right? Because citizenship is conditional. We talk about freedom of speech, and again, these things are not neutral concepts, right? They're designed to empower, because what kind of flies in the face of all civility and decency, and somewhat of a divine comedy. Cornell chooses a theme every year, right? And it's a theme that defines the Cornell for that year. And it's a theme that we work towards, strive for as an aspiration. It's littered everywhere, right? When I was going through my persecution, the theme of Cornell was the year of freedom of expression, right? But what we understand that to mean, there's a trope that's wielded by the right that the left are intolerant. The left don't want to hear ideas. The left can't entertain. Really and truly, that's a code for we want to be fascist, and we want to be fascist, right? But within that, Cornell had chosen this year not to empower views about Palestine or to views about left-wing Marxism, communism, whatever it may be, but really and truly as a cover for fascism. Because in that year, they invited Ben Shapiro. In that year, they invited Ann Coulter, right? In that year, they invited all these right-wing neo-Nazi reactionary figures, and that's supposed to be the, freedom of expression year, right? They invite IDF soldiers, etc. But no, we talk about other ideas, about specifically Palestine. then that's beyond the pale, right? That's beyond the limits of the category of freedom of expression.
And then over some time, right? You've been traveling a bit around Africa, Gambia, Egypt, I believe maybe Nigeria,
Senegal.
and
Senegal.
And then you come back to the UK. You get detained. You mentioned they took your fingerprints, mouth swab, photographs. Can you tell us more about the interrogation? Right, you mentioned Karl Marx, these questions, but at this point, it didn't seem like you expected to be detained. Right, you were caught off guard. I mean, are you curious at this point? I mean, what's going through your mind? Can you tell us more about where they took you, the chain of events that went in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, surprised, yes. Shocked, no, because I mean, again, I did not anticipate it at all. I did not think it's going to happen at all. But, however, at the same time, I have been stopped in 2024 in August in JFK, right? And I was detained for 3.5 hours, interrogated. But again, it's the difference being the JFK interrogation was very political. It was like, what do you think about Hamas? What do you think about resistance? What do you think about this? They were asking my political views, whereas this one was very like, it was a fishing expedition for my intel. So get off the plane, they take my passport, we go on the train towards the interview room. We get to the interview room, immediately they're, asking tea, coffee, do you want to pray, etc. And then they record, they allow me a phone call to my lawyer, and they allow me a phone call to one family or close friend to inform them what's happening. And then, they just take my devices. They start trying to do a sweep of my devices. They look at, they just keep going through my stuff. And again, it was just, the questioning was just incessant, right? It was like, definitely what you identified, Islamophobic undertones. What mosque do I go to? How am I funded? Who do I speak to? Who do I listen to? When did I start practicing? Oh, what do you think of Malcolm X? That was another one as well. But yeah, it's like, again, as you correctly, I wish I had only spoken to legal team afterwards, but I wish I was better prepared, meaning that I should have at least, because again, under Schedule 7, you do not have the right to remain silent. Okay. And they make it very clear. If you do remain silent or refuse a question, they will arrest you on the spot.
Okay. And
it's a prosecutable offense. So that's how they threaten you, intimidate you, right? But again, naturally, how you answer the question is up to you, right? But if I'm looking back now, I should have been better and said, okay, I'm ready to answer your question, but can you please explain to me, how does this question relate to committing a terrorist attack in the immediate future, or being involved in the commissioning of or planning of a terrorist attack? That's something I think I would, if hopefully inshallah doesn't happen again, but if it does, I think I'm better prepared in my answers.
And I think it's good to share on this platform in case other people get detained under Schedule 7. And then at this time, you're just answering the questions. You're being as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
You mentioned they were relatively friendly in terms of offering food, coffee, prayer. But did they feel like they were aware that did they see the absurdity in this exercise? Or did they actually feel like they're saving the UK from an...
No. So I asked repeatedly. I asked, why am I being stopped? Because we're just doing our job. And again, the kind of the Hannah Arendt's kind of banality of evil came to mind, right? Because like, just doing my job. Yeah, you're doing your job for like neo-Nazi government.
Yeah.
And again, they kept saying to me, we're just trying to keep the UK safe. We're just trying to keep the UK safe. And one thing was hilarious to me. They go, I know we're supposed to be impartial, but we're so happy you sued Trump. Like, I don't know if some good cop, bad cop trying to get my defense.
It's the least of your worries at this moment, I believe, no? It's the least of your worries. You're lost with Trump.
Exactly. I'm just like, they're being they were exceptionally friendly, and they let me go. Legally under Schedule 7, the maximum they can hold you for is 6 hours.
Okay, and they kept you for the 6 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, and go on.
And then they took my devices, all of them, all four, like my 2 phones, my iPad, my MacBook. And they called me today and said that they're going to call me again on Tuesday, but I'm fingers crossed may get my devices back on Wednesday. But again, it's like, people, like I was saying to them, like, you've inconvenienced me to a level you don't even appreciate. I couldn't even get a bus back. I couldn't book an Uber when I arrived back to my home city. Like, it was just a lot. I can't now. I'm trying to go out, book a train ticket. I can't do it because it's on my phone, or I can't confirm any payments. Like, it's just like, it's such an inconvenience for what? Like, I'm like, and what? Okay, this is what makes me laugh. I'm so vocal about my views.
They don't even need to ask you.
like, if I was like some clandestine, like, behind the scenes, some shadowy figure who didn't want to be identified, I'd be like, okay, damn, you've got me. But like, I mean, I'm on the DHS.WH website as someone being called a Hamas terrorist. Like, at this point, at this point, everything you said about me, or people have misconstrued about what I said, is public knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And we'll drop your Twitter link, your X link in the description, so people can see for themselves.
Yeah, it's just a bit strange, right? Like, you could easily just Google me and you'll find what right-wing presses have a field day on the things that I've said anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're an open book.
Yeah.
So at the moment, when they let you go, did they tell you what's coming up? Are they building a case? Do you think this case is over? Do you expect accusations coming your way? I mean, again, whatever's in your phone, I'm quite sure, knowing who you are, that there's nothing to fear. But at the end of the day, the evidence can be manipulated.
Exactly.
Your devices can be tampered. These are not in your hands. It's been what, a day and a half now? It's hard to. I mean, there's a total breach of transparency throughout
and privacy. Exactly. Like, all this, and the thing is, they can do whatever they want with their phone. So what they do is they make a copy of your phone, right? Mm-hmm. But again, I'm not like I'm very prepared for it. Like, I'm going to get all new devices. Of course, I'm not going to use them. I will never use those devices again. Of course not, right? But it's just, again, my thing is like, whatever. It's just more to do with the inconvenience of everything. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm only supposed to be here for a week. Now I think I have to buy a new ticket. You know what I mean? It's just a massive inconvenience.
And this is all under the so-called progressive leadership of the Labour Party under Keir Starmer. And it's the same authoritarian government that has been keeping Palestinian or pro-Palestinian voices imprisoned under no charges, from what I remember, who've been on hunger strike for more than 60 days.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. So this is the absurdity of these of the liberal movement, really, in the UK.
This is liberalism. This is liberalism, and I think as movements and those who are involved, particularly in pro-Palestinian movements, I think something we need to really dedicate serious study to is the logics of the war on terror. Mm-hmm. And all the legislation that has been, because first and foremost, the figure of the terrorist, which Benjamin Netanyahu himself helped to create, is often touted or kind of cited as being the Palestinian, right? Mm-hmm. You find that first intifada, second intifada, you find shortly after these times, legislation about terrorism is enacted, mm-hmm. right? So I think, like, as people who are in movements, we need to really have our heads screwed on when it comes to, like, the logics of the war on terror. Because this is the Schedule 7 example of that. The Prevent program in the UK is an example of that, right?
Hmm. And I believe Schedule 7 was passed in the year 2000. That was before the...
It's a Blair government, right?
That's right. And that was before the war on terror, sorry, quote unquote. And I believe Schedule 7 was implemented due to the domestic threat of the IRA. Mm-hmm. It just shows that, I mean, a lot of these policies of state surveillance that are passing under, let's just say, legitimate concerns of the population ends up being weaponized in the future against everyone. So there's truly nowhere where we can justify surveillance and these police state policies.
Exactly, and what you continue to see, right? When I talk to some people who are maybe not as political or liberal or whatever it may be, and they talk about certain laws being enacted, right? On the face of the laws, they look good. But think about what happens if a different government comes into power. What happens if a right-wing takeover now is emboldened to have such powers? What do you do then? I think oftentimes, and again, a law is far more difficult to repeal a law than it is to enact one. right? So I think it's very important that we have to be mindful of what, when we see laws that seemingly look helpful or keeping the community safe, what are the potential ramifications and dangers that come with that as well?
Because, I mean, you have nothing to do with whatever was going on in the prior to year 2000 that legitimized or justified.
I was only 6 years old, so, you know. And now look.
And I mean, we've been talking about your involvement mostly in academia. Is there anything that stood out during this interrogation that you feel like that you should share that we haven't spoken about already?
I think one thing that was I didn't know this till later on. You don't actually have to share your biometrics in the way that they told me I had to. So you can't. So what happens is, if you refuse to give biometrics, they will take you to a police station and have the superintendent order you to share your biometrics. This doesn't happen often, but what they say to you is that if you don't give it, fail to comply is a prosecutable offense, right? So they deliberately mislead you, misinterpret, and try to intimidate you that you give up as much as they want.
And what is your? I mean, do you plan on responding to this Schedule 7 attack on your personal liberties? I mean, what doors do you have open to your disposition to respond to them?
Yeah, I think what we're doing now is that I will have a better idea of after the legally mandated or legally permitted 7 days of having my devices. If I get my devices back, I'm still going to file some things. Like I want a copy of my transcripts. I want, just to prove the questions that they asked were ridiculous, right? But if I don't get my things back, that's when I'm going to escalate.
And again, as much as this is an attack on you, I believe it's an attack as well on all the pro-Palestinian voices in the UK. I remember attending a protest for Palestine in London around a year ago, and the police was reading every single sign, pulling people out of the protest, detaining them for God knows how long, based on the wording of the signs. Truly, we live in dystopic times. And this, again, the same country that is policing or conditioning aid and loans in Zimbabwe and other countries in Africa based on their freedom, right? And we're not even applying it ourselves in our own countries.
Exactly, but that I think what October the 7th has done. It has again held a mirror up to the world and really exposed the hypocrisy of liberalism, right? Of the liberal Western order, because we understand when they invoke human rights, the human is not a universal category. When they invoke freedom, it's not a universal category. When they invoke corruption or authoritarianism, it's not, because again, you'll see things on Twitter like right now in this moment when ICE is kidnapping people. This is not who we are. This happens in China. This happens in North Korea.
It happens here more often than there.
It happens exactly. I'm like, no, this is exactly who you are, and this is what you export around the world, right?
I was going to say something around the topic of Iran, because it seems like a lot of people got distracted with Gaza, right? And all of a sudden, a lot of people who were in the pro-Palestine camp are repeating those same Keir Starmer claims, Donald Trump claims about authoritarianism in Iran. I mean, first of all, I'm in no position to condemn what's going on in Iran, but all I know is that I'm reading your case, Momodou. I know that whatever repression is happening in Iran, I should probably focus on repression happening in my own networks here in Canada, in the UK. So let's take care of your case, and then we can maybe give advice to other countries on how to handle protesters. But for now, we have enough on our plates.
It's this holier than thou mentality that, it's that Westerns, whether we like it or not, even some of those on the left in the pro-Palestinian camps, they have drank the Kool-Aid and they have been imbibed with a Western superiority complex. Because, what about what do you mean freedom? Are we not like, I don't understand. I've not been, forget being charged. I've not been accused of a crime. I've not been accused of a crime. And now I'm subject to transatlantic authority harassment. Like, let's think about that, right? And again, it's not like, if I was some secret like shadowy figure, not trying to be exposed, I'm so open about all my views, my research, my podcast. You can find what I think about. So like, if I'm the subject of attack, I think we should really like have some humility and say, okay, let's deal with our countries first and wage our struggles here before we even think about, let alone speaking, before we even look to other places.
And keep in mind, the same way we're protesting against a genocide in Gaza, it's not because it's an Israeli genocide in Gaza. It's because it's also a UK genocide against the Palestinians. It's a Canadian genocide against the Palestinians. It's an American genocide against the Palestinians. So before policing anyone, I think we should get rid of the blood on our hands and also make sure that people have the right to protest genocide without being persecuted. And I just wanted to repeat something that I was reading about Schedule 7, is that you're not detained, you're not arrested for a crime. And also Schedule 7 also mentions that you're not even obligated to be suspected of having committed a crime.
Exactly.
So you're not even suspected. I mean, there's no suspicion, right? It's just someone. I mean, this is pure intimidation.
Pure intimidation, fishing expedition. I know they want to see my networks. They want to see who I contact frequently, those kind of things.
You've mentioned one piece of advice that you wish you were able to ask for more clarity around the connection between these questions that they were asking you and the intention of detaining you, which was suspicion of, which is under the Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act. Do you have, I mean, because it's been a lot more common in Europe. A lot of, I mean, Ali Abu Nima was detained, I believe, in Switzerland. Richard Medhurst was detained both in the UK and I think in Austria as well.
George Guy as well. I think David Miller as well.
Yeah, and so this is, I mean, again, this is a lot more common, and this could happen to any of us. I mean, it happened to you on this call, but any of us in the journalistic world, but also our viewers. This used to be a lot less common. It's getting more and more common. The net is getting wider. The grip is getting tighter. What other advice do you have for people that might be in a similar situation over time?
Yeah, I'm going to write something up more, so please stay tuned for that. But what I'd say immediately, just remain calm. Remember, you're not under any. It's not even a suspicion. You're not under arrest. You make sure you answer every question, but how you answer the questions is up to you. Don't give them more than what they're asking you, because some people feel like if I speak more, maybe it'll make things easier for me. I'll get out quicker. That's not the truth. Don't be fooled by them being so nice, right? It's to get your guard down. I feel like, it's a friendly chat. No, it's not. These are state agents who are reproducing and who are very comfortable in defending and reproducing fascism, right? This is be very clear-eyed as to who these individuals are, right? Remain calm, answer every question. Definitely get a lawyer, right? Definitely get a lawyer.
Do they provide a lawyer?
Yeah, I have a lawyer. Yeah,
but do they provide one if you don't have access to a lawyer?
They do. And finally, I would say just tips of traveling now. If you're an activist or somehow travel with burner phones, a wiped phone, make sure you're always keeping up with your digital safety, right? I think these are the things that I come to mind immediately, and I'll definitely write something up as well.
Okay. And right now, you're still in the UK, although you had trouble moving around. Just for our audience, is there any way the audience can support you in your specific case? And are you relatively safe right now? Or, I mean, can you tell us more about your state of mind?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm good. Alhamdulillah fi kulli hal. All praise is due to Allah in every state. So I'm good. I'm fine. I'm just tired, as you can imagine. Annoyed, inconvenienced, but I'm good. I'm undeterred. I'm safe. I'm well. In terms of support, please. One thing I notice is that publicity is good when it comes to these things, to kind of expose to people the absurdity of what's going on in the backyard. So if people can see a post, like, share, interact with it, that'll be really appreciated.
And let the UK government have a taste of their own medicine. Anytime they attack us, it will return back to them. The repression they gave us is delegitimizing their own occupation, their own fictional state, or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
Momodou. I'm super, super grateful. And we were supposed to have a chat about Burkina Faso, Mali,
We
Niger.
will.
We absolutely will. This is just a little teaser. So before people get to hear more about great developments happening in Africa, and hopefully detaching or breaking the chains of colonialism that has been on for way too long. So stay tuned to everyone. We're going to have a great discussion soon. Thank you so much, Momodou.